Barbara.
Lock on the door.
Barbara, would you like to do
Excuse me,
Lock on the door.
just in case, I wouldn't do it.
the camera? Where is the door?
Right, let's put their names down.
My name is Blair, and I'm going to be the moderator for today's discussion. We are tackling the issue of educating older adults. And when I say older adults, keep in mind I'm referring to those that are 65 years or older. Our article was titled Education for Older Adults, and it was written by Bradley C. Courtenay. He is an associate professor and department head of adult education at University of Georgia. And we found the article to be he supported all of the issues that he brought up. He was very informative, and we feel that he was a qualified source. Literally, what we're talking about here is called educational gerontology, which is defined as the study and practice of instructional endeavors for the aged and aging. And more simply, educational gerontology examines the circumstances that affect learning in older adults. We broke down our article into three major issues. It was why, how to, and where to educate these older adults. Okay.
Why is a good question, Blair.
Yeah, why?
At this point.
Yeah. There are two reasons why. The first is relatively simple. The percentage of older adults is rising every year in this country. And by the year 2000, there are going to be 13% of our overall population is going to be 65 years or older. And that's a considerable percentage.
Same in Canada.
Well, for Canada, a little less, but we need them to contribute to modern day society. And the only way to continue to do that is to involve them in some kind of higher learning. And that, that's our reason.
That's right.
Yeah.
And let's face it, these people have made a great contribution already. We're talking about people who have had full-time careers in their lives, doing some type of work. And here we are at the age of 65. What's left? So there are still needs that these people want to fulfill, that being just basic skills. They still want to be able to express themselves, be influential in society, and still make a worthy contribution. Probably the big difficulty here, or one of the main difficulties, is going to be how these programs will be paid for. Right now, we have a lot of voluntary donations and a lot of fees. We have institutions who are providing tuition free to senior citizens, and other programs supported through counties and cities alike. But let's face it, we're all going to be in this situation someday. And I think that maybe we should, as a society, take on some of this financial responsibility and see if we can do something to help ourselves in the near future also.
That is definitely true. Now we have we actually have two different kinds of the older adults. We have the educated adults and the
Undereducated adults.
Exactly, as we have up here in the pictures. We can see many examples of adults that look more educated and look less educated. Now, in the study, in the article that we read, the educated adults had five first needs, five basic desires that they wanted after retirement. And these were how to make new friends, how to age physically, intellectually, and morally, how to live in harmony with oneself, how to develop a good philosophy and psychology on aging, and how to cope with changes in society. Now, these more educated adults were more interested in liberal arts courses. For example, courses that would give them a sense of meaning in life, courses such as philosophy, religion, language arts, also courses that would give them a sense of control, because the world's going so quickly.
Right.
Things
Or
are
the
moving so
ability to
fast.
cope.
Exactly.
So,
Things are moving so fast these days. So they also want courses in science, and business.
Physical education, healthcare, home economics, and well, that's what makes them interesting to take courses. But talking about undereducated people, they look at the courses in a little bit from different point. They look to, they want to learn about themselves. They are looking for courses about personal health, such as checking vital signs and consumer information relating to drugs. What we found out in this text that learning to read or to write fell into the bottom 1/3 of the courses. So they don't really look for extending their knowledge. They just look for finding the new way of life to help them
Get by.
right.
Excuse me, Andy, but would you say that these people are the undereducated, then they're just primarily interested in staying alive? I mean, checking their
Not
vital
really,
signs
but
here and...
what says in the text is that the main barrier, mainly one of the major barrier is a lack of money and also lack of time. So I think that's what you said about fees and support from other people or
Sources,
groups,
yeah.
right? For these people, way of better standing and managing money is also a solution for life.
Well, then probably these people are, I think the point might be that these people are more interested in learning how to, if they had a choice, learning how to fly fish versus reading
All right.
the Canterbury
Well, they
Tales.
figure now that they're
All right.
65, what's the point of learning how to read? Because they're 65, why not? Those that have already had some form of, I mean, we're talking about people in the 1940s only went to school through the 5th grade. Now you have to go through, at least through college. But they're figuring they're 65, why bother learning to read now? Whereas the already educated are more interested in broadening their horizons, broadening themselves, bettering their knowledge about maybe other countries, for example, or like you said, sciences, something that's going to broaden their own horizons.
But besides that, the major barrier is the lack of interest. That was really something what goes together with other barriers, but we couldn't. I mean, in my opinion, and in my situation, I have lots of interest. I could do anything, almost anything, and like it shows in the text, they just have lack of interest. So that's interesting point of view.
Well, there's many reasons why they have this lack of interest, right? Most of them really do have an interest, but the reason that they say that there's a lack of interest is because there's so many barriers. The older adults have, there's a lot of things in their way. For example, there's physiological reasons, there's psychological reasons, there's socioeconomic reasons.
Being old,
there's a
having
lot.
problems with health.
There's a lot of things, like fear of being out at night.
Something so simple but so major to them.
Exactly. We read in the papers all the crime that's going on.
And lack of transportation, which would go with it. And
Exactly. And not to mention the fear of competition. All these young people, and that old phrase, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Right.
That phrase gets into people's minds psychologically, and it's just something that you don't forget.
so sometimes you just remember your earlier years in the high school, and you are just being tired of school, and you don't want to educate anymore.
It's true. That's very true. Not to mention poor health. Many people are just too sick to get out there and learn. Maybe they're confined to a wheelchair, or they feel that they're just too old.
But we're not saying that there aren't places available and that these programs don't exist.
Right.
There
Not at
are
all.
definitely a lot of places available.
There are. It's just that many of them don't know where to go.
And there is many places for them to go and educate, but the majority of older adults choose to educate at university and colleges. However, some of them want to go libraries or school, community centers, senior centers. They want to go and educate. But older adults really want some place to be familiar and close to them, so they can go easily. And because some of them lack of transportation, and they really don't get interest in these places. But there is some informal setting to go and educate, like clubs, community centers, senior centers, as we mentioned before, or some other places that they get together and educate, like churches or museums.
Which are places that they would be more familiar with and comfortable
More
with.
familiar and comfortable with each other. And also there is like for older adults, the elderly adults, like they don't want to go to classes. They just want to learn by themselves, by watching educational program, TV programs.
Sometimes they are
or-
just afraid to compete with young.
Yeah,
Right.
and even some of them, they really like to play games on computers, so in this way they can learn and they have some activities to go and do it. But also there is another good program for adults, which we call it intergeneration, which is like two generations can study young students and older adults. So in this way there's a lot of benefits. They can learn about each other in positive attitude. And they're not just educate, but they like learn about each other. They know. And older adults, they have something else in their mind that young students
Right.
like.
The big generation, yeah.
So there's, but like a study found out it's very good for them, especially in Canada, Toronto. They have a school, like even 7th graders, they want to go 7 days and learn dancing with adults because they really enjoy it. And there's also some other programs available, so like Flor knows about the name and everything. So
Okay, so some programs for people over 65 are offered in universities, community colleges, colleges, and secondary schools. Some of these programs are offered at the University of Kentucky, Delaware, Duke University, and some universities in Canada. There are some programs that have been successful, like in a program in Georgia called the Life Enrichment Center that with enrollments of up to 700 people each quarter, and also the public access television by and elders, where they teach people how to run cameras, how to program their VCRs, and how to make videotapes.
Make a living.
And the last program is offered in New York, where people can choose from literature, history, symphony, health issues, and self-help groups.
I like, Gina, what you said about the intergenerational program there, because not only these people are learning from each other in different ways. I mean, let's face it, an older person has a lot more life experience under their belt
And
than
that's
a
very
young
important.
person. So that's very important. But then at the same time, this older individual is learning and keeping up with the way our world is changing. Whether it just be new fashion trends or new recreational trends, there's always something there for them to learn.
yeah, for example, there's a school. It's called Wilson School. School is for older adults, not for young students. They are foreign students, so they can even they're like over 65. They attend this school. There's a lot of benefits. Look, first they can. It's just for learning English. First, they can learn English. Secondly, they learn about each other in positive ways. And third, they learn about different cultures. Like there are people from Afghanistan, from some other places. They can go like my mom. She doesn't want to attend the school, but she went there for 1 day and she loved it. She want to go there and she attend and learn it. Like even 18-year-old can attend this school and learn some English. So better English, because some people they cannot go to high school or college because of some financial needs or for some reason. So, but just they want to go and learn English. This is a very good school and good program. They never mention it in these papers, but we can count on this school.
Yeah, so we know there's a lot out there that's being offered to the older adult. And
It's
I
just the
think
question of getting them to participate.
And you're not getting credit per se, but you're learning about fiber optics, which is important to keep up in your chosen field.
Okay, the definition I think should be made by the moderator as an introduction to the topic,
Okay, so
right
that'll-
at the top of the section.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine. Blah, blah, blah. Well, I'll just tell you what my notes then. It addresses highly specialized and advanced educational needs I don't know, just it comes in a lot of forms. Like a history professor can speak before a historical society. That's not necessarily credit, but it's personal enrichment. It's in the form of conferences, workshops, short courses, symposium, weekend courses, correspondence, study, travel, blah, blah, blah. And the Commission on Non-Traditional Studies definition is it's more attitude than a system, because it's going beyond a set curriculum like George Mason has. If you want a degree in communications, then you have to do this. It's very more, okay, student, what are you hoping will happen? How it began is a topic. You can talk about, whoever wants to take it can talk about, or it can be part of the introduction, how it began, Cambridge introducing it initially, and how it spread to the United States very quickly, what universities adopted it, how they're doing, that type of thing. Canada, it's also big in Canada as well. Why? Why is there continuing in adult education? I have just copious notes here. Necessary for professionals to stay abreast of the knowledge explosion. That was directly out of the article. And many professions require, and this is interesting, this is what I was saying earlier about teachers and doctors and stuff. Many professions require a minimum number of hours each year to maintain a license to practice. So I was telling them earlier, like with teachers, they have to have a certain number every single year in order for them to keep their license. And what they do is they just gear it towards a specific degree, that they gear it towards credit things. So they have to spend the time anyway. They may as well just go for their master's and then go on to their doctorate. That's why there's so many professors with doctorates. It's, it just is geared toward that direction.
Is this sponsored, or they pay from their own pocket?
They pay from their own pockets. Although that's a good question. I'm sure that there's other subsidies, like we talked about alumni, government grants, foundation grants. That could be a separate issue. How is it supported? I don't know. I know that a person friend of mine who's a teacher is paying for it herself, and the school is not paying.
Yeah, same for mine. I got for the teacher.
The teacher pays for it?
He has to pay for it. But part of it is because they're under a grant, part of it's paid for. They have what's called personal enrichment courses, which is mandatory that they all have to take every year just to update their make sure they're certified,
Right.
and it goes a certain way, and part is paid for and part is not.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. I should talk to him.
Well, personal enrichment leads me to believe that it's non-credit.
Some of it
but
is,
what they're
some isn't.
doing is they're taking just all credit so they can go towards their master or towards their doctorate.
Yeah,
Do
but
you
see,
wanna-
this
do
is
you wanna talk
elementary. This
about-
is elementary. That's the thing.
That's
So
okay.
I don't know if
Well, can you talk with you can even do an informational interview with Brenda,
Yeah.
finding out what they need. And I know that actually she teaches drama as well. So find out what.
Just took a psychology class, right?
Well, I wonder, was that required or was it not required? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can talk about
Why
that.
Okay.
don't you do it?
You talk about the why.
She's
Yeah.
available.
Why is there adult education? Why is there
All right,
continuing
that's fine.
education? Okay. Who? Under who, I have two categories: participants or teachers. Participants and teachers. Who are participating? The notes that I have are, it's varied depending on the nature of the pursuit. For the credit, the adults who don't have an academic degree, individuals in process of changing careers, obtaining certificates, or a simple desire. Do you want to take the who? Simple desire for additional education, and they want their achievement recognized by another degree. Other people are just, again, personal enrichment. They just kind of want to keep up. And of course, those that have the recurring need, the teachers, the doctors, the pharmacists, etc., they have to do it. Other professions involved in that or under the who are accountants, architects, dentists, engineers, lawyers, nurses, pharmacists, physicians, social workers, and teachers.
Everything.
Everybody.
Most things, basically.
For non-credit, the primary clientele are adults who educate. Whose original education is really narrow, like engineers. I mean, if you know, engineers are like, black, white. They're not very well-rounded, if I can say that.
Also, what
so that
happens-
they want to become more rounded.
Specialized. That's, yeah.
Develop their intellect more versus,
Right.
just engineer, I know how to build a dam, or,
Very often people would choose a major and then they get a job and see that their major doesn't apply at all to what they're doing.
Right.
And
Or it does, but it doesn't apply to life.
right. So they
Reality.
They find that they can build a bridge better than anybody, but they can't talk to other kids.
Right.
Or they want to travel, but they don't appreciate what they're seeing because they don't know about Western civilization, or they can't speak a language. It's towards the more well-rounded versus, but boy, I can sure build that bridge. So that would be under the who. Under who teaches, you guys got these notes, but they're just sort of all over the place. First of all, there's competition under who teaches. Professional societies want to teach because, for example, if a construction company has a symposium and they invite all the members of some association, then and they put it on, well, they can give the symposium bias towards their product.
Yeah.
See what I'm getting at?
Yeah, my dad's company sells pharmaceuticals, and what they do, they bring all the doctors in DC to just describe and use, say, a morphine, but of course you're going to, describe why their morphine's 10 times better. My dad tells me that when he's got to do the presentation,
Right.
he's got to get the angle on why
Which
this
is
one's better, why
biased.
this one has the worst side effects, what advantages this one has. Yeah, I know.
So people in these corporations, like your father,
Oh, absolutely.
they want to put on the symposiums, but universities also are like, well, we want to put it on as well because first we want the income, we want the recognition, plus it'll be very
Especially
objective.
with medicine.
Especially with medicine. So, and large corporations are sponsoring it, private entrepreneurs, but professional societies I thought was interesting. Professional societies like associations, they're more objective. Of course, if a certain member contributes more money than the next member, then you can start getting into bias again. So corporations, the associations, and the colleges and the university are under who teaches. As far as the individuals, basically it's teachers that externally minded and public-spirited faculty. It's the work of a few people who respond to new forces in society to support and stuff. Like an engineering professor will consult with an electronics firm, but it's not even really accounted for in the university, but it's like this one professor wants to go to this consulting firm and say, okay, this is the new research, this is what it means, this is how you can incorporate it into the real world. Let's see, who else? Oh, also who teaches, regarded by regular university faculty, those who do continuing education are considered marginal. They're like, oh, you're continuing ed, we get all these research grants, we're so great, we're the money makers, but you're just continuing education, and they're kind of looked down on. They're perceptually not as highly regarded as these professors that are research, but these same professors are under a lot of pressure to be published, and the continuing educators aren't under any kind of pressure. They're just there to explore, and again, it's student oriented, so like where can this go, and exploring different avenues. So oftentimes they do find new areas to kind of capitalize on. Like I mentioned earlier, there were some classes that at one time were continuing ed, but now there's some required courses because they recognize it as important. So the continuing educators have this freedom. So that too is under who teaches. Okay, like for example, the ones I spoke about, computer sciences, gerontology, I don't even know what that is, labor studies.
Studying the aged, the older people.
Okay. That at one time was just sort of an extracurricular thing, but now it's a study. It's a legitimate study by the snobby researchers. So they capitalize on their marginal status. They have the freedom to kind of go and explore. Also, under who teaches, as far as institutions, how it began, I guess this goes back into how it began, but Cambridge started it back in something 18 whatever, but Harvard, or University of Chicago started it here in the States, but I was telling you guys earlier about Harvard's program for it's called Extension Harvard, and you or I, anyone can just go to Harvard.
They still have
They still have that. In 1910 is when they started. They broke new ground by doing this, and what happened was people like us who have been out of school, or I don't know about everyone's personal situation, but they've been out of school for a while, they can take extension Harvard and get an associate's in liberal arts or whatever the case may be. The fees are not as high as Harvard, but it's taught by Harvard affiliated faculty. So the quality of education is there, and it addresses the fact that you have been out and you've been in life, et cetera, et cetera.
Is that an external program, or you have to be there to?
No, it's on campus.
Yeah, it's on campus. But University of Chicago, same thing. It's very highly developed. University of Texas, there's a lot of them. So I thought that was really, I just thought that was very, very interesting. In fact, let's see, it's open enrollment. It's coeducation for all ages, modest tuition, instructions primarily by Harvard-affiliated faculty. So you can get a Bachelor of Liberal Arts to extension students, Associate in Arts, Master of Liberal Arts. You can get a master's. You can get certificates of advanced or special studies. So that was interesting. Like, we could all just go to Harvard right now. And it's open enrollment.
Let's go.
It is open enrollment. Just like Nova is open enrollment. Anybody. Here we go. And it's modest tuition.
But modest to
opposed-
Harvard standards.
Modest to Harvard.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
fair.
I'd like
You
to
know,
know
that's-
how much that is.
I'm definitely going to find out. Hopefully I can find out before Wednesday, but I don't know. GW is a good example of who teaches because the government pays tuition. They have, I don't know what percentage of students at GW are like advanced degrees, but I think more advanced than undergrad. I'm not sure the statistics. I can find that out very easily, but I thought that was really interesting. That the government will pay for it. So there's a lot of people enrolled, and the tuition's covered. Because just like corporations pay for Gilmet, which actually this is your alley. How GW pays. GW is like really, really big on that. You can call the admissions office, maybe get statistics, because if you notice in the evaluation form, they want you to cite statistics. Included a variety of data, statistics, quotations, etc. But in this article, it says there aren't really a lot of statistics. But
Yeah, I know that's good.
But there actually is though, because in the back it talked about the Department of Education has a publication on, where was it? Here it is, Trends in Adult Education. There is a publication, Trends, Statistics. So that's at the government printing office downtown, but I don't know. So there are statistics. Maybe we can just, by calling admissions office, get statistics, and that'll make up for it. We don't need to get any kind of other publication. What else? The nature of the courses. It's kind of the same as
Is
Y.
that a for credit or non-credit? Or?
Yeah, that's kind of the same as Y, isn't it?
Yeah.
As what is it? The nature of the
Why
courses.
are the nature of the courses, basically, right?
What is it and nature of the courses are pretty much the same, actually. Non-credit personal enrichment, liberal arts ed for non-required. It was non-required in undergrad, so now they want to get their liberal arts. Also, this is interesting. There's a lot of continuing education aimed at literacy. Because a lot of adults are illiterate, and so that there are a lot of programs just addressing.
And most of those are government funded too.
And they are.
Almost all literacy programs are government funded.
And that's under how is it supported?
I wouldn't mix the two, since we are focused on four-year colleges. Let's leave literacy out of there. Because you should have a certain level of education before you go on to a four-year college.
That's all I have so far.
How about YouTube? What do you want to talk about?
You two don't. You have a topic. You have a topic. You have a topic.
Yeah.
Okay. What are we missing? How it began.
Me? Yeah.
You want to talk about how it began? Okay. Okay. Wait a minute. How began? Who supports it? What is it? Who participates? And secondly, who teaches?
Why?
Not really, we just sort of
And why? Okay. So okay. David has why.
I mean, is there anything else I'm gonna like sort of incorporate into it? Is it just strictly why? Because they're gonna be sort of like, I mean,
Well-
it's not, I don't know if nothing's gonna be said. There's gonna be like overhang of everybody, but
Right, and I think everyone should be kind of well versed in all of the subjects.
Just
And
at least
but when we
enough
do the dry run, we could just as they had like punchy little things like, yeah, well that's like
just
this,
sort of
well that's
integrate
like
it,
that.
without
Exactly.
just I end and he begins, like the chain reaction. I should say.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, that's good. So, how began? You. Who supports it? You men. What is it? That's me in the introduction, basically. Who? Amy. So that's everybody. No. What did you want?
I'm not sure. I really work on how began.
Yeah.
You started off and
Okay.
then she can continue.
Okay. Under what is it?
Because I work on that part that I really began the education.
I'm sorry?
I had work on this part, the terminology, so I have more confidence in that part.
In the what is it? Oh, good. Okay.
So you can like start it off and then I go into how it begins and go on and then she'll, add a little more about what is
Okay. And in what is it, we don't necessarily have to talk about how it's offered to the public, and that can be interjected, like say conferences, weekend retreats, or full-on college courses. That doesn't have to be in the what is it up front.
Right.
That'll be throughout. Okay. What it is throughout.
Should we leave the cues to move on with the topics to you? Or how do we do that?
Everybody could end their little sayings with like, a little question that somebody else, like, and why is this? Then I hit the why. And they go, well, how is
Yeah.
this done? And somebody could say, well, this is done because,
Well, who supports this? Meanwhile, say, for example, Amy, you're talking about who participates and who teaches. Like, well, how is it supported? And Gomel will say, well, how it's supported is boom, 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 boom. So whoever,
you just sort of end on a little question, and the next person can just
that's
give out
really
more
good.
information about it.
Plus everyone will be familiar enough with it to have their own random comments.
It's dealing with our little bit of work here. So this does have a lot to do with what we're discussing right now, because we have to, as women, decide it will fit into this. That should be one of our subjects too.
Also, it breaks down as far as degrees, and it breaks down men and women in all the different degrees, so you can see the percentage differences in a lot of things.
I think I would feel more comfortable to just maintain the degree that I have, so that should my spouse become ill and can no longer work, we would have to really depend on our incomes to support the household and family. The house that I live in, it's a buy-off for like $110,000. The price on it is $110,000. The mortgage on it is close to $900 a month. That's not even including utilities. So when I think about furthering my education, I'm thinking about my pay scale, whether I'm going to be able to afford this after I've gotten so much time into that job, as to whether I can maintain that amount of stability. So you raised a good point.
So that basically go into one of the most frequent reasons given by women today, that is economic need. That's why, they're really going into, even though some say it's because of, personal or social reason, but mostly they will say because of economic needs. That's why they're going into further education. Let's discuss on page 3. And then I also talk about 94% of all women participating in some form of adult education are part-time rather than full-time. And I think that's when we should like discuss the barriers. Why are they not, enrolling full-time?
Well, a lot of colleges don't look at you if you're not a full-time student.
They don't.
For a lot of different things like aid. Different colleges have different standards, but a lot of them won't even offer anything to you part-time.
They don't, because a lot of financial aid programs, you have to just about be full-time to even come under any kind of grant to get the money that you need to pay for most of your courses anyway.
Well, you also got another reason too, not only because dad is because they have family demands. Why they're not home from school, they have to take care of the family. So society has made it a role that women responsible, and they're living and feeling guilty when they decide to go to college. So that if they have to go full time and take care of the kids and they have to work,
it's a lot of stress.
It's causing anxiety. Someone is suffering from depression because of that. And
I had a full schedule last semester.
And males support women, but they don't take on any new roles.
No.
Still do
They
the
don't want to
same
watch
roles.
the children while you go to school.
My husband does that.
You're fortunate.
He'll come home, he'll fix supper, he'll let me go in the bedroom and do my work. He'll take care of Megan. So I'm pretty lucky there.
So that's
You
an
are.
exception.
Yeah.
That's an exception too.
So you kind of got.
So we have a lot of guys like her. Maybe we can get more women going back to
Well,
college.
unlikely she has a husband. I have a brother that lives with me, and he does a lot to help me out. We'll switch up. He might cook dinner, prepare the kids' meals for a week. I might do the laundry for a week and pick up the groceries. It fluctuates between the two of us, but it is a big help. I often say I don't know what I would do without him, because with me trying to go back to school and get a degree and maintain just the 2 kids and I have in my house, but the other 2 that I have in my mother's house, it's hard. So
it's going to take a lot of stress.
it does, because beginning, I went to school in the spring, I was full-time. I had 5 classes, 5 days a week. And between dividing 4 hours for each one of those classes of study time, I fell short. I became very ill and couldn't take none of my tests at the end. It was stressful. So we have to really be careful about how much we do to ourselves to achieve what we want.
On page 5, right there, and also working. You can read the bottom line there. It talks about depression, anxiety, symptoms of stress, including depression.
Right. So we need more programs. I think it talks about as far as colleges having programs to watch children.
Right, that's a biggie.
And they feel adequate with the people that are watching their children while they're in classes and things like that. I think that's a big part of it.
I know childcare is expensive.
Yeah,
It is.
Real.
For my son,
It's major.
where they go to daycare now, it's $200 a week for one child. That money has to be paid on time every week. And remember, I have 2 little boys that are in the same daycare. And it's not easy, because social services will pay for half and I have to pay for the other half. So it is very important that for me, I work at least part-time and go to school. And it's a lot of stress, because when I miss a day, then that means X amount of dollars is missing from paying that babysitter so I can get here and go to school, because both of us work. See, he works in the morning, I have to work at night. But if I miss a day, it puts a damper on him as well as me.
So that's when the CEW come in place with all the different programs that are initiated, to help, people that have all these kind of barriers that we're discussing. They have programs, they have different settings, the college level. They have some like meeting section, small group section.
Yeah.
Too, I think it said it started out like predominantly white middle class women, and through the years it's helped more women that actually need it, minorities,
it was 7 women who were generally right.
So it helps. I mean, there are programs out there will help single black women and men, white women and men that are single parents, that are parents together. I mean, if Tammy really needed somebody to take care of her daughter for her, and they fell in a criteria where they weren't making more than $13,000 a year, there are programs aiding to help you take care of your babysitting needs is because I found it. So it's not like that. Women have to say, well, I can't because I don't have a provider for my child. They put the program there for you, but you have to do the research yourself. Just don't stick your child in any kind of daycare and make sure you've got background. Like I told my sister-in-law, she had her first baby at the age of 35. She was unsure who was going to take care of her. I said, the first thing you do is check out some daycares. Then you get the history on the daycares. You get the history on the daycare providers, how long they've been there, where they've never been charged with abuse. You do the research. But there are programs out there to help young mothers who have children.
So the program that you're in, is there a waiting list for that?
No. They hold a meeting every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, or every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. I'm not sure if it's Tuesday or Wednesday. But it's every day, every Tuesday or Wednesday at 2 o'clock. You go in, they have a little session. You meet with the social workers. They give you a list of daycare centers, daycare providers. You do the research. If you see somebody close in your area, okay, I want to check this person out, you make a phone call, such and such has referred me, can we have a visit, can my husband and my child come by? Always initiate your spouse, because your spouse may see something you don't see.
Some of those, when we first got here, we were looking for daycare so I could go to school. I mean, they gave me a list of these people that were registered as daycare providers. I would not leave my child with some of these people.
Yeah.
This one lady we went there, she didn't even look at Megan. She didn't even say anything to Megan. Now, why would I want to leave my child with somebody
who's not going to have no response?
And a big dog running around the house? No way.
Plus, see, with me, my sons, all of us come from a family where there's a history of asthma. So I have bronchitis. My son has asthma. One have asthma, one have bronchitis. I cannot leave a 3-year-old in the hands of nobody who haven't had any Red Cross experience and, stages where if my son need to be, what do you call it, respirated. They have to have this special need. So I had to place my son in a home with a person who was a registered nurse. Now she's a registered nurse, she do daycare part-time, she work at night. That's the kind of setting I had to put my son in. You got to be careful, especially if your children have allergies or they're allergic to things. It helps a whole lot to know what you're dealing with when you're dealing with daycare providers, especially daycare centers. Be very alerted to how your child is resting. When you go into a daycare center, the beds are all up against the wall. Children have a tendency to play with each other, but they also have a tendency to fight. So if it's in a close net, small place, you don't need it. So those are the kind of things you need to watch out for, Megan.
But they also talk about it, in addition to CEW is beginning to move beyond the original mission, like you were discussing, that it only for, working with a small group and now they're expanding, working with women of disadvantaged women also. That's
from Berto's. I see you got it in there too. But he's not here to address this issue. I wonder what he's saying.
Yeah, so we have to more talk about the future, what's going to be happening. He's not here to address this.
Well, hopefully in the future we can move forward as successful business women and men and achieve what we set out to go in. But we must continue our education in whatever area that we go, because new technology comes out every day.
But I think you need to follow up on the downside of a lot of them aren't being funded anymore. Like I was telling you, in 1985, a lot of programs aren't in existence anymore that were put in the 60s and 70s. I think you need to cover the downside of it too.
So we need to look at more fundings?
Yeah.
Well, the funding department would be good just to find out what funds are available. What
this funding was just...
And what area are we really going after? Are we going after medical degrees? Are we going after clerical degrees?
Well, I can show you that in all the things that I have.
I wonder with the charts, should you make a chart up with all, like for the present, with all the, like the grants or the whatever's available for people now, for women?
Because see, most companies, they pay for their people to go to school. The government does, even CNP. CNP pay for those men and women to go to school and further their education.
In one of these it says, about the employers, paying for schooling or supporting the employee. How? I mean, they support like the men were at least 70% higher than women that the companies would support and put through school.
Because my girlfriend told me years ago, she said, why don't you come to CMP and just start as a phone operator? I said, well, I'm not sure I want to do that. She said, Natalie, do you know the advantages that you could have just starting at the bottom? Because they'll pay for you to move your way up. They just like the government.
So
They
that's
will
something
move
we
you
can
up
look-
as long
that's
as you
something
want
we
the
can look
ability.
at, that now, even though a lot of these areas, a lot of these groups, earlier groups, the fundings are limited, but we have more companies that kind of like having taking responsibility,
Yeah.
having tuition
Initiative.
reimbursement, tuition reimbursement.
But we still shouldn't,
conclude it that way.
Right, we shouldn't eliminate because this problem still exists today. They haven't decided.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's
Oh,
not
it
everybody
is.
that can really get out there and work. We need areas that can work on self-esteem, like the CEW has been doing, having smaller groups. And certain people are not comfortable sitting in the classroom, they're more like comfortable to go into a group that have that same type of people, like the article tried to do, and they feel more comfortable within our group. And after they can build up that self-esteem, they'll be able to go into other groups and work with other people, probably get into the workforce. But before they can even jump into the workforce, even though some businesses pay tuition, that doesn't necessarily mean they fit within that group. They have to build up self-awareness, self-esteem.
And a lot of times that business won't pay for an education. If you're part-time, you need to work full-time. And if you have children and you're trying to go to school full-time, it's impossible.
Because Nova had their own alma mater.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. I think his name was Eric somebody. He used to go here, and now he works in Crystal City, and it's almost like they call crash prevention, where it's that they come back in to aid the families that go to Nova, or what they do is they aid families that go to Nova to keep us from falling. Where it said if we fall into a crisis where we can't continue to go to school, it's like a prevention. They stop it before it gets started. They even work with teenagers. I think I'm calling him to see if he can meet with us, because he can give us a lot of areas that would refer to this. Denny May had him come to our class last semester. He was really good. He gave us a lot of good insights on.
But can you focus just on women?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because he's worked with a group that was basically for women. My sister-in-law works in that same office. She does the same thing.
I was thinking about military. They also help with your education too, but that wouldn't just be women.
There too, and it's predominantly men. I mean, there's really a lot higher for men than they were for women in the
I
military.
know my husband, he got his degree through the Air Force. And then now, after he serves a few more years in the Navy, he can go back for his graduate degree,
That's
his master's
good.
degree, and they'll pay for it. But he's obligated for like 2 or 3 more years in the service after that. But still,
He
he's
can
going to
use
make a
it.
career of the service anyway.
He can use his grant once he come out to go back. Doesn't he get what you call a GS loan?
Yeah.
And he can use that to go back to school and further his education? Go for it. Take advantage of the funds that's available.
But see, when they go to graduate school, he'll be at graduate school for 2 years, and they continue your pay. He doesn't work, he just goes to school. And he'll still get his base pay, his housing allowance, and everything that he would get for his rank. And he'd just be going to school.
That's
And
good.
it's paid for.
They have more like that for women out here.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be talking to them.
There have been some women that's gone through the same program she's talking about and been really successful. Because I know a guy that's making a career out of his, and they send him to school like every 6 months. When he complete a course, he's gone somewhere else to go to school. He has a family, but he's maintaining it pretty well. You can go ahead.
Before I leave, can I get you guys' names?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your name?
Because you know mine.
Who wants to be B? I'll be B.
Huh?
Who wants to be C?
Nikki. N-I-K-K-I.
You know mine. Don't even try it. By the way, she took Dr. Salinger's and Dr. Denny May's class with me. So she know who I'm talking about. Was you there that day he came in? Thanks. You're welcome. So, in other words, what I would think I'm gonna do is just read this and put my own. Nikki, are you tired?
I don't know, Humberto's not here, so I think we should look at the future area and see what we can come on to. We still want to
We can get it after class.
Yeah, after the class we can get it and
What, the transparency?
No, the actual.
actual one, and she can make transparency for us.
Okay, then why don't we do that?
Actually, we can give like this to her and you
We
can
can
make
give this
transparency.
to her
Sure,
so she
sure.
can make the transparency. A whole copy, please.
Exactly.
And you can have one from the conference.
Exactly. Sure.
Because in this way we have two transparency, one from her and from his, and it makes it a little bit more effective.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is what it is.
Yeah, because in this way, what is going to be done? There are many people.
I think they have it.
Yeah.
It's all new now.
You know, in the beginning of the conversation, what I am saying is that even though many people know about community colleges,
Don't you want
but
to join
still,
us? You're sitting too far from us. You can continue. Oh yes. Okay.
and actually the start of conversation or the reason of conversation is this, that the people do know about the community college, but they don't know enough about the community college. And what they know, maybe it is just like this, that many people, they don't want to come into community college. The reason is this one too, that they know even though we are getting some education from the community college, but when we go to university,
Yeah, most of people don't know about
People-
it. They just,
Exactly.
I mean, the people come to the college and they ask their friends, do I need this course? Do I need this course? Do I need this course? Yeah, you need this, you need this. And when you go to college or transfer,
They don't even tell you when you go to the council and office that
They
this
don't.
one is transferable, this is not transferable. All they tell you is this course,
They do-
this is your major, these are your requirements.
Believe me, I went to about 10 different counselors, and many times I can't even remember. And just one time, one counselor used to tell me, the first time I went in there, they said, this is what you have to do. Second time I went, my friends told me 112 is not required for you. Why are you doing it? You're wasting your money. I went to the counselor again. I asked the counselor that, do I need 112? And she said, of course, you have to have 112 in order to get to English 241 or 251, in order to get into the literature classes. And then I said that no, I am not asking you that. What I'm asking you is that does 112 transfer just as 111 transfers to university, for example, to George Mason? And then she said no, it only transfers as an elective. That's how I came to know that this is an elective. So they do not tell you straight away or directly that this is what is elective and this is what is required. So it was, all these coincidences. That's how I came to know about. I came to know, all these courses, that what's required and what is not required. So it's not that you go in there one time and when you come out, you know everything. So they should have such a kind of service that tells you that where you are or what you're doing is transferable or not.
Why they didn't do that is, if they do it that way, some of the courses, like AAD, like this, no one would do it. But it's like, it's giving money to the community, so there are some of the subjects that instead of cutting it off, they won't cut it off, but they will let you do it. You understand what I'm saying?
and it is also then becoming a reason, why many people are reluctant to come to community college, because when they think I am trying to be a computer, you can say, repairist. I want to learn how you can repair the computer. And then when you come here and you see the subjects and you say, oh, PED, SPD and such kind of thing, then you just go away. You say, okay, yeah. So this kind of
they're
things.
not directly related to your subject.
Yeah.
Not directly
Because
related.
you come with an emotion and also with some kind of ambition. But when you see such kind of things, they feel you boring. Maybe these are the things why you left the education. And now you are coming again and they are giving you that kind of bread you don't want to eat.
No, but that we can say is that because nowadays people want a well-rounded education. You know, they want you to have a well-rounded education. They want you to have everything, something out of each and every aspect of the education. You know, like you should have something from social sciences. You should have something from natural sciences. Some from humanities.
But you know,
Courses from
social science.
I mean,
to me, it's the same.
right, like
yeah, psychology comes under social science.
But they let you do both.
the education board, the education board, they designed this education in such a way when you graduate, when you get university or school, they want to be like perfect, you should have a knowledge of each and every way of your life, like you should know sociology, but what sociology has to do with computer science majors, but you want to know the interaction with them.
Used to, at least if they wanted to do the social science, you can either do sociology or psychology. But they made you do both. Like,
Oh, really?
I did both. Yes.
Here they give us a
depends
choice, psychology or
nursing,
sociology.
nursing, I did both.
But nursing is actually, you have to deal with people.
Yeah, but nursing is the same thing. When you go to the class, it's the same thing.
But
I
even more.
figure in sociology when I went to
Yeah, but
The same thing
Right,
is
that's
happening.
not so bad. But what's more bad and what's more depressing is, okay, they let us take all these courses here, psychology, sociology, even if we don't need it. But more depressing is when you go to a 4-year institution, they don't accept it.
Yeah.
That's the bad part, I mean, something which is not required, people made you do it, and later on you find out that it's not even transferable and you have to do something else. For example, if you do sociology or psychology at George Mason, you're only required to do 3 credits. Only required to do 3 credits, 1 course. But if you do sociology or psychology here, you're required to do 6 credits. That's 2 courses.
2 courses.
So if you do 2 courses here and you transfer there, it's only regarded as 3 courses. I mean 3 credits.
3
It's 1
credits.
course.
So you have
It's a waste
done,
of.
you have just done that extra, and there is no need for your higher degree, no need in the society maybe too, because it doesn't have any practical. So this is the second point what we have to talk about.
I think they have some agreement with many universities, but the best agreement where most of the credits transfer is
George Mason. They also prefer that.
Yeah, to other universities they have. I think they have agreements, but not as many credits transfer as they transfer to George Mason.
Marymount used to take some of the courses. I remember when I went there, they said health science was transferable. If you do health science here, you transfer it there. It was about, it was 4 credits here, and you transfer it 8 credits there, because when you start doing the biology part and all those things, now it was
I mean,
That's the point. Now you get the point. Number 2, you can say a lot of things about it. Just like
one
we
of my
said.
friend, he took some courses over here with Noah, and he went to Los Angeles. And over there, some of his, courses were like transferred, but some of them were they didn't transfer some of them, but if they transfer like 5 credits, they consider it 4 over there, and they make all this,
It's gonna mess up,
I mean, it was messed up over there.
It brings down your determination, that like he said, you've got that ambition to that I want to do it, I want to achieve something, achieve a degree, I want to get a degree and get higher grades and that. But when you're told that what you did was, we don't accept it, it's not required, you just wasted your time. Then all
It is a
that
kind of
effort
disheartening.
you made, it puts you down,
Have
brings
you
your,
taken the
brings your
orientation
spirits down.
100 class?
So I think you can see a lot on number 2 now.
I mean,
If you want, you can put some points down. I don't know what points you want to put down.
have you all taken the orientation class 100, which
I
is,
have.
they have provided a little knowledge about this. and the lot of knowledge about the library usage and the other stuff.
Exactly.
And I think if they tell more about this thing over there in that course, which is interesting, and I have seen when the people were asking, when I was in that class, I have seen the people were asking more questions about this thing, that how they can transfer, what are the courses, and the teacher was just saying, okay, I'm going to use some kind of information about that. Here is the pamphlet or such, and he was not, trying to explain everything because there were so many questions. And if they tell more about this thing instead of giving you a paperwork that study the library, how you can come out and then watch the films and answer these questions, what does that mean to the student? Everybody, when you come out of the school, you know how to use the library. Just there are little things you can learn.
I remember one thing, and about this assignment, about that 100, that assignment they gave you, I talked to a counselor, when I was turning in my assignment, when it was all done, I turned it in 2 months earlier than the deadline. And they were shocked. You done? You sure you're done? I said, yeah, I'm done. And the counselor said that you must be sharp, you must be smart, to finish it. And I said, all this is nonsense. I told her straight away. And she was smiling, and all of a sudden, the expression changed. Yeah. And why do you say that? You mean this course, or you mean to say all the process? Yeah, the assignment you were given, or the course itself? So I said both of them, because it does not hit the subject as it's supposed to. It's supposed, like he was saying, it's supposed to tell us, give us information about other institutions and how we can transfer and what courses we should take. But it does not directly tell us that. What it tells us is how to use the library and how to use the facilities provided by NOVA or Alexandria campus, which we can find out from friends and from the librarians, and that's easy. Because these things, we cannot go to each and every institution to find out. This should be provided by the Alexandria campus.
It is just...
And you know what she said? She didn't take so much interest in that. And what she said was, I should probably talk about it to my instructor.
I mean, there are books in the library where you can find like certain courses, and if you can find out whether your courses are transferred to certain university, but most of people don't know where those books are.
Yeah.
I mean, there are books over there, but most of people don't know. Yeah, you don't know. Probably he doesn't.
I don't know about that. Most of the people that
yeah, they're over there in the shelf. They're like blue books.
Where you sit
right in front of
for, wait
counseling
for the
time.
just behind that.
Yeah.
In the shelves.
Yeah.
But I don't know exactly what books they are, but I know it's there. They're
It's there, and you can find it, but most people don't know about it, and they just go blank. Yeah. I mean,
That's what
they graduate from here, and they
when
don't
you
know
are
about it.
when you are coming in a community college, that means you are just going to invest money and time. So for this investment, everybody is looking for the benefit and reward, and that's what is not told. Just so these kind of things should be developed.
Strange, how that counselor she didn't take it.
They say, go do business.
He just said you should talk about it to the instructor. I mean, the instructor is another counselor too, and she's a counselor too, and she's also teaching Orientation 100. So what difference does it make if I talk to my instructor or her?
Oh yeah.
They're all teaching the same course.
Yeah.
It's just that there's
Because
lack of interest in.
Yeah, because they are teaching that course. That's why they cannot say no, it is
It's
bad.
bad.
Yeah, or they cannot give you bad expectations.
Exactly.
They are in favor of that because those people have designed that, and nobody can.
I think what community college needs to do also is the books. Because when
When you are going to buy the course books, syllabus books.
I mean, it's not between community college, it's all the Madison's, Annandale, whatever. They use different books.
Yes, they
Good
do.
point. Very good point.
Very good point.
Different, but the same course, but different books.
Yeah, he spent $65 this semester.
Health science, the instructor came from Annandale. So some of the students that he thought of 161 followed him to 162. And when they came to Alexandria, the book has been changed, so they have to buy
They have to
the
buy the new book. This happened to me right now. I took in our group now.
Yeah, it is not there.
So you know what happened? I took economics 201.
But they are all missing.
And there's
Nobody's
book
there.
by, I can't remember the author, but there's a different book. When I went to Annandale, because economics 202, the successive course, the second course is not being taught here in summer. So I had to take it in Annandale. When I went to Annandale, the book was different. And I
So-
had $53 I spent on the first book and
Yeah.
$40 on the second book.
Yeah, as a time, it like when.
same cost.
Sometimes
Yes.
you're not even able to sell it.
Sell it.
Sell it.
They're gone.
And you know
This
why?
semester I lose 3
What
books. It was like about nearly $100 on them.
Yeah.
And you know what happened? That second book which I bought from Annandale for $40 is going to be changed in next semester, so I cannot sell that too. So it's about
Even at the bookstore.
even at the bookstore, it's going to be changed.
Yeah.
So I spent about $110
I mean,
on
this semester I
one
lost over
course.
$100 on
Just
the
on
books.
books.
I mean, I went to the solar, but they didn't.
Another point you can write down is one, you said that books are different from campus to campus. That's one. Another one is books keep on changing from year to year. I mean, every 2 years you find
They
books
can
have been
make it
changed.
like 5 years. Don't you think so?
Some books, yeah, I agree, but some books just change, you know, and
What I'm saying is it's a
Make it-
suggestion that if they can make books.
Exactly.
I mean, if they can change it
Sorry.
like every 5 years.
I mean, they can change like books on computers and all that stuff, but what they're gonna do? Like, how can I mean, what difference gonna make if they change accounting books? The rules are the same. Or if, for example, economics book, still the rules are the same.
or the books of books on history.
History.
Well,
History
those
is
say
still
that
same.
they've been adding new materials.
I mean, what
That's
what you gonna add in
And
history?
maybe the thing is happening as our instructor Brenda told, that when there is a member in that faculty is coming in who has some relation and he wanna change it.
Instructors.
Just for this thing.
Instructors have been telling me that I asked them, why are they changing the book so quickly? What is it? Why is is the world going so fast? They're bringing in so new materials. And you know what they said? They said that there's nothing new in math also. They put in 1 or 2 problems in the whole book. They change 1 or 2 problems. The reason they change the book is the publisher.
Overhead. I couldn't find a piece. The piece I found, my husband said it sucks. He said, that doesn't work. I know, well. So I didn't bring it. And then these gals came in with it. I thought it was really great. Visual aids they put together. Yeah, I think so. Everybody played a... Well, see, we're really, I think, our motivation here was that we all wanted to be the best.
We wanted
We wanted to set a trend. We wanted to set a standard.
Just flag
We wanted to be the peers.
Inappropriate humor, horse plays.
Hey, look at them, you know? No, we're all here.
Yeah, we are. What's that mean? We had to work on 28. Oh, I see. Formula.
So does that mean we're good or not?
She hasn't done the formula yet.
I did the formula, but, you know.
She has to wait till our grades come in.
I see. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I see. You're doing this. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sociogram.
Well, I'll tell you what. What time is it? It's 3 o'clock. Why don't we call it a day? We've got the majority of what we need for the first part. You want to take it?
Yes, I already tried to
mean you just can't do it.
Yeah. And then we can all go home and read over these things. and maybe
Yeah,
maybe
I think we should make,
We can all probably make our own notes about what we should do.
Yeah, I think we should keep our, and then too,
And also the individual role.
Right.
We should write out our own individual role, and when we come back on Wednesday, we can decide what we want to put in the paper, how much of what we
Good
want.
idea. Just evaluate yourself, right?
Yeah, you gotta, and it doesn't have to be short. I think that as we write our own role, as we do our own role thing, we should make it a whole, right, as much as we can put in about it. And then we come on Wednesday, we can decide on how we want to summarize that whole part. In the paper.
This page
Oh, yeah.
is the part that we're going to.
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you want me to write copies? Okay, I think the next thing we're going to go, it'll be a new paragraph after that. So I guess that's the only break.
You know, and what we might do to be prepared for the next classes.
Everyone read over in their text, explicit or non-explicit. Write down what you thought you contributed individually, then when you come in, we'll work that all together. And then,
She was taking it home and look at it.
Well, I think we should all work on each one of these.
If she's using the board, should we just move the microphone on the desk?
Huh?
If she's going to be using the chalkboard, should we just move the microphone on the desk?
That's not to pick up that way. Don't.
Do what? A social grant? On page 293. And I went around and looked at you guys, like you talk to each other, and I recorded the response, not the response itself, but if somebody asked a question and somebody responded, or somebody asked a question and somebody didn't respond. The first line up here with the one arrow, that's where somebody asked a question and there was no response. Second arrow is a two-way communication where somebody answered and somebody responded. It could be more than one person, it could be the whole group or whatever. Okay. There's a formula for each group. Okay. The number of people times the number of people, take away 1, divided by 2, and you get X. Is the possible total combination of conversation. Okay. For group A, which is this group over here.
which group?
Blair, Judy, Brent, Gina, Andy, and Flora. Okay. We have person A, person B, person C, person D, person E, and there's a person F somewhere around here. Okay. Person A talked to person B, and that person responded. Okay. Then person B talked to person E over here, and someone responded. Then person B talked to person D, but that person didn't respond. And then person C talked to person A and had a response. Okay. So there was 6 people in this group. And 6 minus 1 over 2, which is 17 and a half possible communication responses in that group. Then I decided that the initiator was Blair.
Should it not be 15?
Yeah. Okay.
Dina,
6.
Dina.
Not finished.
No, but.
No, it's
correct.
So it's 37 divided by 2.
No, it's
30.
6 times 6 is
6 times 6.
6
minus
minus
1.
1.
Right.
6 minus 1 is
35. 35 divided by 2.
Okay, next group I did was group B. That was Barbara's group.
Barbara's group? Over here.
Barbara's
Me?
group.
Natalie. I'm Natalie.
I'm sorry. We have person A, person B, person B, person C, person A. Okay. Okay. This group was a little different, just a little different. Person A talked to person B.
Can you tell us who these people, A's and B's? Can you give us names?
Person A is Natalie. Person B is Gilman. Person C is David. Person D is Kelly. Person E is Amy. And person F is Sister. I just put them in persons because they're persons. And, okay, we talked to her. And then we talked to these people, but it was only single communication. Only
Okay.
I mean, not your overall, but just the amount of time I.
Okay. Okay.
Is that okay? Okay.
No.
So your formula was a little different, well, no. Your formula was the same, 17 and a half, because it has 6 people. Does this make any sense to anybody?
What's this? I don't understand the 17 and a half. What does that mean?
What does it represent?
Different ways. So how are we going to know how we do that?
I just round it off.
It should be 15 Brenda.
So 17, is that good?
Wait a minute, no, you have to correct there's a discrepancy out here.
Oh.
Step by step, show it.
Okay. Number of people in your group.
All right, put that down, just put it down.
Okay. 6.
N equals 6.
Then, yes. Then another 6. Then one. Then I go like this. 30.
No, work in the parentheses first.
So you do the
You don't do
She is.
Okay, if you don't want to work in the parentheses, you have to multiply 6 with 6 and 6 with 1 minus 1.
Yeah.
Both of them.
So you have to work in the parentheses
Yeah,
first. Get
keep
a
doing
clean
that.
up t-shirt and
I
then.
never do it that way, but
Keep
okay.
doing that.
But I didn't do mine that way.
Well,
The way I did it in the book was not this way. It was this way instead.
What page was it?
yeah.
239.
And I've got the book.
Because if you have 5 people in a group and you have like this, you would get 10. But if you do it this way,
Right, it would still be the same one. So 5 minus 1 is 4 times 5
see,
divided by 2.
but I'm saying, to me, either way, it doesn't matter.
But you get 2 different answers.
Just for that example.
Okay, so I'm wrong.
Well, Miss Expert,
I meant, okay, wait. Okay, this next group